I totally look past, like see, this is exactly what I meant by female gaze versus male gaze, because
Yeah.
literally, I would say with his bald head and, like, all of that, he would probably be, like, a 5 at most.
He's a
But because of
5, but
he's a 5,
he's an
but he
action
has
he's
all of these traits as Jet Li. That's a 10. That's a solid ass 10 right there. Always gonna, fight for his family, for the little people, for the one at the bottom. Love that. That's hot.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Josei Junkies, an anime podcast where we talk about anything and everything. I'm Iso.
And I'm Kanye, and welcome back to our podcast. Yay! Anyways, did you watch Romantic Killer? Like that one Netflix anime? Like I told you to?
Yes, I finally got around to it after I've just been so busy. This season has so many animes, so I haven't had the time to really binge anything. But I
Yeah.
binged through that and Lookism.
Oh my gosh, there's so many coming out, and I'm barely able to catch up. But it's crazy that Netflix coming out with anime too. It's weird, like their own original anime.
Dude, they're really trying to get into the industry. Look, I remember talking before. I was like, Disney took a Bleach. I don't think it's on NA, but I think something else. But like Disney Plus had like Bleach and I think summertime rendering. Like Disney's trying to get in on it too. Like Crunchyroll is gonna have a hard time soon, I feel like.
Oh my gosh, but I feel like Crunchyroll is still kind of the default platform that people go to. But what's weird is like I remember when the trailer for Romantic Killer just came out, and you sent it to me. Were you that sent me
Was
the
it me?
trailer?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And then it's
Maybe.
funny because so many people know that I like shoujo, so then they send it to me. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, something feels off about it. It's like not really shoujo to me. Like it doesn't have like the quality that I think shoujo is.
You
And then
know
I look it up and it's shonen, dude.
what? I mean, I
Is
guess
that so weird?
I can kind of see it. I don't know. Okay, when I first saw it, like my first thought was it kind of reminded me of Cardcaptor with like Kettle.
Mm.
But then I also thought like
Oh yeah, like it has all the formula for like magical girl and like, doing all these things and the main character is a girl. So I was shocked to find out like when I looked it up, so it's like it's just off. It's shonen. And what's weird too, it's like it's a shonen that has a female character as a main protagonist. That's like a weird concept for me.
I mean, I guess because shonen technically just means that like the demographic is for guys, right? Like it
Mhm.
steers towards like guys wanting to watch it. But then I've noticed
Mhm.
that like genre is also very like gray area where they can be true, but they're not exclusive, right?
Mhm.
So that could be why. I mean, when I watched Romantic Killer, it definitely wasn't an anime that I'd be like, oh, this is definitely something I normally watch. Like I watched and like it kind of reminded me of
It's different.
Nozaki-kun.
Yeah, it's very different from what I think. It's like it doesn't really fall into one or the other, but the color scheme is how I immediately knew that it was not shoujo because, like, you know how shoujo always has, like, the lightings and the pastel
Oh,
colors and, like, everything is about the mood and, like, the soft vibes. Like, that's what I think
the
of when I
soft
think of shoujo.
vibes.
But this one had, like, really bright colors, and bright colors to me, I always associate it with more shonen theme.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I think do you know, like, the game Neptunia? Like, I think the art and the design is super pretty, but because of the bright hair color and the bright eye colors, I'm like, "Oh, it's definitely more geared towards guys."
I wonder if that has to do with like the fact that like guys tend to be colorblind, which I didn't know before.
No, he's I don't
Dude,
think that's it.
no, it's true though. Okay, after like you take like marketing classes or something, there's so much shit you didn't think about that's true that okay, so one thing I learned was like Starbucks, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes there's like a Starbucks on like across the street from each other, and you're like, why is there literally a Starbucks like across the street? They're right next to each other. How is this a smart business decision, right? And it
Mhm.
turns out that they did like market research, and people are more likely to turn right than turn left. So they made it easy for people to go to Starbucks if they want to, like on their way to work and then like on the way back from work, right? Because
What the
they just have to make a right turn instead of a left, so they're more likely to buy Starbucks if they do that. So that's why they build it like on both sides of the road, even though they're right next to each other. So now I don't trust
Crazy.
anything.
Everything is like designed to kind of like market. It's just like how they're saying with social media now. It's like they can't really market you to buy anything more than they already do. So now they're trying to market your attention.
I mean, that's literally they're trying to buy every second of your time. Because what else
That's crazy.
can they get from you? But yeah,
Yeah, but no, but back to I know like a lot of guys can't tell. Like I'm like, oh, this is cerulean. This is like, all these colors, but like the little shades, you think that's why that
I
all the
mean, it
colors have to
could
be
be
bright?
like it could be that like guys
It
are
is
more
definitely more
attracted to
flashy.
that because like
Yeah.
I didn't even know that many guys were colorblind or like it was that much more common in guys. I thought it because like I don't know any girls who are colorblind until it was like one time I was at my friend's place and they were playing League of Legends. God, I know
Mhm.
that cursed game, right? Toxic, toxic. We don't speak of this, but I was there and I was like, why are you playing on colorblind mode? Like, I said it really meanly too, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, who the hell does this? And then my friend was like, because I'm colorblind. And I felt so bad. I was like, I didn't know that.
God, now you casually pointing out the
Yeah,
disability.
I thought, because, okay, they're like a trolly person too, so I thought they were just like
Mhm,
being dumb, right? But
mhm.
no. And then I looked up and they were like talking to me, they're like, yeah, it's actually really common for guys, or like fairly common for guys to be colorblind. It's not like also like you either are or aren't colorblind, I guess. It's there's like a spectrum of how colorblind you are. Like maybe only certain
Mm.
colors. So I learned a lot that day. It was now I don't say that. Now now I realize that's a thing.
Yeah, I've noticed only a lot of my guy friends are colorblind. I thought it was just the lack of attention to detail, and then they just see one thing and they're like, "I identify this as this,"
I mean it could
but
be
not
that
really
too.
understanding there's different shades of things. It's weird. But
No,
yeah, that's when I knew for sure. And then also like the pacing of the series too was
mm,
like weird to me because I was just like, this is kind of like the formula, but something about it is like really strange. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense that it's shonen. But what's fascinating is that shonen has progressed so far in the sense where they're like have female leads
mm.
and then like they're almost kind of fascinated by the idea of almost like otome games, right? That's basically like the troll and they're like trolling the senpai with the long V face and stuff. So it's like funny. Like they see it as like a trope.
I mean like is it a trope for what guys want in a girl? Is that like what it is?
Mm, it's a kind of like I think of it like storytelling maybe, like from a guy's perspective, like what they think girls go through and it's kind of funny, you know?
But
Like
it's
that's
weird.
what I think of as romantic killer. But it doesn't hit obviously girls because that's not the demographic. Because I'm watching it and I'm like, they didn't even draw the main guy that hot, and I
That's
was
true.
mad about that.
That's true. That's true.
Like if they're gonna make a series, at least like make the guy hot, so it makes it worthwhile. But even then, he's drawn in a way that is like very, very shonen. Like in like Horimiya, like he's
Mm.
hot, but he's not like ikemen, ikemen, ikemen hot. Like that I'm used to.
But I'd
You know what I
argue
mean?
that like girls are getting more into like the normal guys now because like I feel like that's what I've been getting. Maybe it's just that I'm older and I'm just like you realize like the dudes who are like that are usually really shitty, so you want someone just normal and decent.
Oh, I see, I see.
Like I wonder if that has anything to do with it. And maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those shows where I was just like, am I the only one who thinks? And you know what's so funny too? It's like a lot of my guy friends would tell me to go watch it, and I'm like, I don't really like it that much. I think it's okay. I think it's interesting. It's an interesting premise, but it's not like.
Mm,
But then they think it's like the most funny thing, and they totally think I would like it. But I'm like,
that's
bro,
true. That's true.
that's what's weird. It's just like I understand they like it, but I don't. It just
Yeah.
doesn't appeal to me that much.
Like to be honest, after watching it, I was like, this is okay, but it wasn't that great.
Like, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
It's
recommend it.
definitely not on the top, like, like Kami-sama Kiss or like Akatsuki no Yona or Skip Beat style. Like, I would never recommend it. I would just be like, yeah, I mean, you can watch it. It's fun. It's like funny and like colorful and
You know what I
whatever.
think why is also I just realized because I'm like it's kind of like a harem anime actually, right? Because she's getting all these dudes, and I'm not really into harem animes, but
Oh, I'm super into harem anime,
yeah,
and that's why it's weird that I'm not into the series.
because the guys are too normal.
It's not that they're normal. The way they draw, like the eyes are not like pretty enough, and
Yeah,
like the structure and the hair is not interesting enough, and like honestly, I've seen a lot of really trashy otome series type of shows. Trust me, and I'll watch through the entire thing just because they draw the guys really pretty, or the voice acting is really nice,
don't
or
call
the
me out
colors
like
are really
this.
pretty. You know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's not to the level where I would sit through because honestly, the guy's not hot enough and the story's not
I would
compelling
sit
enough.
through it. I've sat through it.
Okay, but this romantic killer is not one that I would recommend to.
Yo,
I saw one
romantic
recently.
killer, diabolic lovers, similar
Okay, Diabolic Light,
titles.
they literally have one of the prettiest art style and the color scheme and the gothic style and oh my god, the
and
voice actor. Don't get me
the
started.
abusive boys.
Okay, we
Like
ignore all of that.
literally,
Okay?
there's nothing more
So
toxic.
fucking toxic. It's so disgusting. But I can't. The art is so pretty. I just watch it and then I feel guilty afterwards.
Yo, maybe this is why
The
guys think something's
feminism
wrong with
has
us.
left my body.
Like they look at the Otome games we play and they'd be like, "What? Do you want to be locked in a cage? Do you want to be
No, no,
drowned
no,
in
no,
the
no, no,
pool?
no, no. Absolutely
Do
not.
you
No,
want to be
no,
like
no,
stuffed in
no,
a
no,
coffin?
no.
Like, are you into this?" And it's kind of like,
No, no, absolutely not. But then it makes me question because a lot of the stuff that guys watch, right? Is that what they like? Because I don't feel like it really applies to the stuff that girls fantasize about. Like they just kind of watch it. But I don't know how many girls actually like literally every shoujo girl I know hate Diabolic Lover. They think it's trash.
don't at
Amnesia
me.
too.
Yo, you can think things are trash and still enjoy them, okay? Why are we?
No, so
We're
that's why I'm
trash.
curious. I'm curious whether or not like guy shows, like the whole like falling into a bunch of boobs or like having a harem, like is that actually things that they like and they actually want? Because I don't actually want a harem because that seems like a lot of work.
I think it's like, I wonder if it's like, okay, for me, it's like being able to differentiate between like reality and fiction, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
also at the same time, it's like, I guess there's aspects of it that I enjoy, but I know it's like not exactly that situation. Like for me, it's like a lot of the confidence and like the taking the lead and like doing things. That's what attracts me to those characters, I guess.
Mhm. Mhm.
And their looks, of course.
The
2D.
looks for the anime, but I realize a lot of the shows that I watch and I really really enjoy, like when I watch dramas and stuff, it's honestly just when the guy's being considerate. And I'm just like, dokies! All
Yeah.
the largest dokies in the world of just him like noticing that, she's hurt or something and be like, oh, can I help you? And then him asking nicely if he could like assist her. I was like, oh my god,
Yo,
that's all we ever
we
look
out
for.
here asking for
We
the
out
bare minimum. Like the bare minimum.
literally. Or like if I see a guy who's like really nice to other people, I'm like, wow, they're nice to other people,
Yo,
not
the
just
bare
me.
fucking minimum.
And it's just, like, so nice to see, like, the care and kindness that's extended to everyone, not just me because they want something from me, and I'm
Dude,
like, "Wow."
have you seen that thing where it's like guys will list off their ideal type and it'd be like, banging body, like does everything for me, blah blah blah, pays for meals, like everything to a T, and then girls out here just asking for like, I just want a nice guy who like doesn't treat me like shit, we can eat
Don't
and we
yell at
can
me when I'm wrong and,
Yeah.
like, when we're fighting.
Like we out here asking for the bare minimum. I don't even know how to say it. And then guys be acting like it's so hard. Like, oh wow, girls are so hard to get with. It's like, no, it's just y'all have no like, I don't even know. How did this happen?
Is it the EQ? Is it the lack of EQ that we want, that we hope for?
But it's like you don't even need EQ just to be decent, like don't be an asshole.
Mm.
I mean, I do feel like guys don't have as much EQ as girls, but I don't
Mhm.
think that's the reason why. Like, there are definitely guys who do, who can just be like Okay, for me, I didn't even know that there were guys that were like this much of a like dicks until like college. Like
Like, what do you mean?
all the guys I knew were all like really decent, like just like nice for the most part, just like
Mm.
normal. And then when I came to college, and then that's when I finally started meeting dudes who were just like straight up assholes. And it's like, why are you like
Oh my god,
this?
like outside of your circle, right? And
Yeah,
you're that's why I think college and work is essentially where you're forced to interact with people outside of your circle, and then you realize how small your world is because everyone's living completely different lives and like have completely different viewpoints and experiences. And
dude,
it's so fascinating to hear, but at the same time, you're like, whoa, your whole world gets shook.
it's so wild because like especially even when you're in school, you feel like your school is so big, right? Like wow, there's so many
Hmm.
people because like there's so many people you probably don't even know from like even your high school or your middle school, even elementary school. You're like, I never met someone from that class, and then you graduate and you like are out in the world or you go to college or wherever you are and you realize like wow, the world's so like I used to think it was a big deal to go to another school in my district. I was like, oh my god, there's a whole nother school. And then now when I go back to like the same city, I'm like, dude, I can drive there in like 5 minutes. That school looks tiny. Like, how did I ever think this was so big?
Yeah, your world just becomes bigger and bigger as you get older. It's just wild. What's creepy to me is it's like now that I'm older, it's like when men hit on me and because I'm older they think it's okay, but also they have kids around my age that it's like weird and gross. And I'm like, "Oh my god." I was like, "Yeah, I'm like this." And they're like, "Oh, my daughter just turned this." And I'm like, "Bro, she's like
Yes.
only like 2 years younger than me and you're hitting on me." That's so creepy. Like I don't know why they don't think about this. It's so creepy.
I don't know, maybe because they think they can get that, like, or maybe they're just manipulative and they like are used to manipulating younger girls. Like, goes back to the thing where it's like, oh, I can easily manipulate them because I'm older.
No, but I don't feel like we would ever date guys like our dad's age. Like, that's too much.
We
That's
wouldn't,
weird.
but like, there are girls who would, especially if they're looking for like something different. Like, who knows? I don't know what type of guys.
I see, I see.
Like, there's those, but there's also the ones who have like nothing going for them and they're still trying to do that. And it's like, bro,
Crazy. Anyways,
dude,
yeah, I was just like shocked because this whole thing led me to like down this spiral of just like, what is this? What do girls like? What do guys like? And what do girls think guys like? And what guys do guys think girls like?
I mean, I think that's why there's such a dissonance, right? Because that's like there's a dissonance between like what girls like and what guys think girls like, and probably even with
Hmm.
like what guys like and what girls think guys like. But I would
Yeah, I'm
say
curious
more of the
about that side
former.
too.
Yeah. I mean, okay, like what do you think guys like?
Hmm. I actually played this game, like, like she's a 10, but she's like this,
Oh yeah,
blah,
yeah,
blah,
yeah,
with my
yeah.
guy friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was fascinating because for things like they would be like, I would be like, oh, she's a 10, but she like ABC. And they're like still a 10. And I'm like, oh, but she's a 5, but she's like the nicest person in the world and like will do everything for you. And they're just like, oh, she's like a 5 or a 6. And most of the time their number stays relatively the same to the number that they rate the girls on based on I guess looks. For like but I feel like when I do this game with my girlfriends, I'd be like, "Oh, he's a 5, but he'll always take your friends and you on trips and like buy your stuff and like take care of your friends really well." And immediately he jumps to an 8, you know? Or like he's a 10, but he doesn't wash his butt cheeks when he like
Why
shits. And I'm like, "Ew, that's like a 2." But like it can
not?
shift
No, that's a
so
negative.
dramatically.
That's not even a two, bruh.
But
Not
you know what I
washing
mean?
your butt
But
cheeks.
I literally play the game with my guys friends, and most of the numbers stay the same, and it's shocking to me. They're like a 10's a 10, and I was like, even if they're terrible human beings, and they'll like literally like cheat on you and stuff, and I was like, what?
Man, maybe this is why
Crazy.
guys end up in so much. Actually, okay, it goes both ways because sometimes I see like guys and girls in relationships, and I'm like, she could do so much better. But then also like, and it's not even just based off looks. They're just like shitty guys who are ugly, like both. And it's like the girl who's like hot as fuck, and she's also like super nice and like sweet and has so much going for her. And it's like, why are you with this? I don't
Yeah, but I
understand.
guess we don't really know what goes on behind, you know, and then maybe there's other things that they can provide for each other that they don't really talk. But overall, I just think people are sometimes they're so quick to choose partners based on like loneliness and companionship
Mm,
that they just kind of settle with whatever's nearby
that's
rather than
true.
actually like, you know, trying to work on themselves or trying to work it out together. It's just like, well, this person will do for now.
I feel like that's like
And I find, yeah.
all the toxic relationships I've seen have kind of stemmed from that, where it's like people just
Mhm.
settling and then getting too comfortable and then being too, I don't know if afraid is the right word, but like not being able to break out of that and just wallowing in their like unhappiness because of it. And it's just really hard to watch. And I don't know
Oh
what
my
to do
god.
when I see that. Now I never want to be in that position, and I don't even know what I would say. Like, say this to me if I'm ever in that, or like do this for me. Like, what do you do?
I heard it's also hard because, like, with all the hormones that's running through your body and, like, all the chemicals, it's really hard to see clearly. And it's funny because I saw that one thing on TikTok where it was like, "Oh, after I got off my birth control, I was really disgusted by my significant other." I was like, "Wow, that's crazy."
Dude, birth control scares
Imagine
me.
having the hormones mess with your perception, but I do think that's a thing where it
I mean, that
messes up.
happens every month. Regardless of birth control. The literal that's what PMS is.
Oh my god, it's so true. Sometimes I'm just like, "Ugh, gross."
Are you ever like one week you're just like super angry, or like you just start crying at everything, you don't know why, and then you get your period and you're like, bro, I knew I wasn't a weak ass bitch. Fucking knew it.
I always just think it's like the moon phases. I'm like, "Oh, the moon is in this sign, so that's why I'm feeling this way." Or like, "Oh, it's a full moon," you know? But they have done studies like that, where on full moons, the emergency rates shoots up percentage like crazy, and all of the emergency room nurses and doctors know and prepare for full moons because something about it changes people, and then people are just more likely to get into accidents or whatever
Dude, I
during
think
full
I actually
moons.
heard about that, and it was like super wild
Yeah.
because they don't know why either.
'Cause, I mean, if you think about it, if the moon has the power to raise our tides and humans are mostly water, it probably boils something inside of us, and that's why people I definitely think people act out when it's the full
Yo,
moon,
we all
and
gonna
I
turn into
can't sleep.
werewolves.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a real thing because of that. It's probably stemmed from people just acting out all weird during full moons, so they're like, "Ah, they're turning to werewolves,
You saying
and
that
they're
just
barking at each other again."
reminds me of like Avatar when they do the blood bending on the full moon. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. That was a terrifying episode.
Bro, it was. That's why when you say this, I'm like, dude, maybe blood bending's real.
Bro, I
Bro.
mean, it makes a lot of sense. Dude, Avatar actually has so much, like, philosophy themes and, like, interesting, like,
I
you know.
love Avatar the Airbender, not Avatar the Blue People.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
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 It's just so fascinating.
It's what
Like, if you dissect everything.
dude, it's one of my favorite shows because it's just like it's like a kid show, but then when you like watch it when you're older even, it's just it has so many good life lessons and like values and just
Yeah.
oh, I love it.
Dude, the lines are iconic, the characters are iconic, everything is just so well done and so, like, deeply thought out of. And each of the characters, you know, I think has the attributes that we like of,
Yeah.
like, them having, like, so much depth and, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. They're
personality
very like
and
fleshed out.
dimension.
And it's like
Yeah.
there's no character who doesn't matter, I guess. Like even like remember like my cabbages, dude. Like
Cabbage,
my cabbages.
dude! That just shows so much personality.
Yeah. Or then like Zuko's whole journey and Aang's
Oh my god.
journey and
Mhm.
even what's her name?
Toph?
Not Toph.
Azula.
I mean Azula's dude, Azula gets
Azula.
Azula I feel for her. I feel for her. Like she is literally like
A psychotic ass bitch, but also is extremely traumatized
yeah,
and
like that's the big
narcissistic.
thing. Like she is psychotic, but like it's so interesting to see like how she got there and it's like she's a result of her upbringing, you know, and it wasn't her fault
Mhm.
necessarily that this happened. Like she was always like put second best, you know, for Zuko and she was a female. She was told like, "Oh yeah, this is what you are." And she had to work that much harder to get where she is. And then like that scared people off and then she had like a psychotic father too on top of it and had to deal with that.
I feel like she inherited parts of his, like, mental illness, you know, like, he has
Mm.
narcissism for sure, and I
Mm.
think that passed on to her because apparently they say it's like it's like genetics almost. Like,
Mm.
there's parts of it that your personality you can pass on to your kids, and I can definitely see that. So not only does she have all of those, like, issues and, you know, her everything's laid out, but also along with that is, like, her mental illness, so it
Yeah.
just puts her down this path.
I mean, there's so many things, but at the same time, I'm glad she has like friends. Like it's like her friends are what I think is cool. Like they still stick with her
Yeah.
through it. And like even I remember I forget if it was a side episode or one of the other, but like they do this thing where they go to a
Each episode?
party and she has a thing, it's
Yeah.
like you look so sharp that you could like poke a hole through a ship and like sink it
Mm.
into the deep. And I'm just like
And she's just awkward.
she's so awkward and just like childlike. Like I feel for her. She's like
Mm.
a killer, but also like so innocent, you know?
Yeah, that part definitely shows that she's so, like, you know, awkward and immature and still a kid.
Mm.
But parts of it I still think is a huge part is, like, her responsibility and, like, making those choices by herself.
Mm.
Like, she is a product of her circumstances, but then also those are choices she made
Yeah.
because those are the
No,
values she also
definitely.
has.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's definitely like she's not blameless, but like a lot of it I do think is from her upbringing. Just like I think a lot of it like not looked at the fact that she is female, whereas Zuko is like male. So like Zuko went through a lot of that too. I mean,
Mhm.
that the whole series is basically let's be real about him and his quest for
Mhm.
to regain his
Redemption.
honor. Whereas like
My
for
god.
her, like she stuck with it. Like she was like, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna do what dad says. I'm gonna do all this to like show my worth and show that I'm worth it. And
Mhm.
she perseveres and sits through it and does all this and still isn't recognized, you know, in the end because she isn't male. Like let's be
Mhm.
real. Why else wouldn't she be? Like who do you think is stronger, her or Zuko? Like I know they fight, but like realistically, who do you think is actually like stronger in terms of bear power?
In terms of power, I think Azula, because she has, like, raw
Yeah.
power, and then also there's this part of her that's, like, not, like, really doesn't hold any morals at some points,
Mm.
and because of that, I feel like she can definitely reach greater heights
Mm.
because of it, like, that ruthlessness aspect of her,
Mm.
but at the same time, I do think she is a very, like, you know, well-developed, but extremely, like, this you know, she could have been like Zuko
Yeah.
and, like, made choices, but then again, it could also be she never had people around her that kinda made her see things differently. Zuko had, you know, Uncle Iroh, best
Yeah.
boy,
Oh my
and so,
god.
like
His
I know,
song.
and he's, like,
His
been loved by his
song.
mom, you know? And
Dun,
so, like,
da,
I feel
da,
like if
dun,
Azula maybe had
da,
that, I
da,
feel like
da,
she
da.
would have had a different upbringing and, like, you know, a different
Yeah.
idea to life.
No, I
Because I think I
agree.
saw changes of her slowly, of being able to move towards that, but then immediately go backward.
Yeah. But I mean that goes to show like she's not her dad, but like things could have been
Mhm.
so much different had she had some differences in her
Damn,
upbringing.
it's that generational trauma. It's passed on. Luckily, I think Zuko kind of broke that,
Good
but
for
it definitely
him.
continue for her. If she had kids, she'd definitely make them crazy,
I mean, it's
for
like
sure.
she was stuck in the Fire Nation, whereas Zuko would have ended up like that too. But his quest for to regain his honor allowed him to meet people he normally wouldn't have, who weren't in the Fire Nation, and like
Mm,
learn.
going off to college.
Yeah, going off to college, traveling the world, you know, seeing different cultures,
Yeah,
different
new
perspectives,
people, yeah,
like not being in
having
your
a
own echo
wider
chamber of like this is what's right because that's what my dad told me,
mhm.
and realizing like
That's what I grew up with, and that's
yeah.
what the people around me think,
And I'm
and
also in a position of power to like, you know, so I don't really experience anything bad except for like, you know, his family that's shitty, but like, you know, he's
that's so
royalty.
true. Oh my god.
And then he meets carefree ass Aang who just seems carefree but really abandoned the world, you know.
Oh, that boy definitely has, like if he had a trauma response, it's flight for sure. He's like, "Yep, bye. I ain't dealing
about
with this.
about to
Fight or
go
flight?
cryo freeze
Flight."
myself.
Uh-huh. That's funny.
But when the world needed him most.
He fucking vanished.
Ugh,
God damn it, Aang.
yeah. Man, I don't think there are many series that are like as good as Avatar. I really can't say.
Dude, even the second, like the what is
Korra?
it? Korra? I don't think it's as good and iconic
I
as.
watched Korra, but honestly, I don't think it was like good. Like I watched it. I don't think I would have watched it if it
Mhm.
wasn't under the Avatar name. You know,
Yeah. I
like
don't think it was as good. Like the villains weren't as like intense, but then maybe it's just a different like timeline, so it's harder. And I think maybe it's just too close because it talked a lot about industrialization. And for us, we liked the stories of like ancient towns and villages
I mean,
and
I like
empires
the
more.
industrialization and I like sci-fi, but I think they just didn't give much depth to her. Like, I feel like she had a very basic story, and like even her friends were kind of like the only things I can say I really remember about Korra were, I mean, industrialization. There was like the steel bending, and then
Mhm.
her and Asami are like lesbians at the end.
Love that.
Yeah, that's about all I really remember from it, and I feel like that says a lot. Like, I don't feel like I learned anything new from it. I
Mhm.
didn't experience anything out of like a typical show of like general like protagonist goes through a struggle, comes out stronger kind of thing.
Yeah. I think what it is when we watch Aang, he like came from nothing.
Mm,
And it's like the zero to hero type of storyline we're used to and where it's more interesting versus Korra was already talented.
mm,
So her struggle was getting past her ego and like learning
mm,
how to ask for help and things like that. So it's just like different. And I'm sure maybe some people relate more to Korra's struggle versus like Aang.
mm,
But I think the way it was written with Aang was just more new and fresh. And because we had such a love for the old series and the old characters, the new characters are just like harder. Like, if it was on its own, a completely different series, then yeah, I think it'd be pretty good. But because it's connected to the Avatar series, it's not as good.
I don't know. I still feel like it wouldn't be that good on its own, but that could just be me because I
Mm,
don't relate as much to her struggle of just being like so strong and then needing to ask for help. I don't even know if that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I can see where you're coming from though, but
mhm.
I guess I just can't see it that way. It didn't feel that way to me.
Same. I watched it and I was more or less just irritated. I actually empathized a lot more with the villain, which I
Mm.
don't know that their intention, but I empathized more with the villain
Wait, who was
than
the
I did
villain
with
for
Korra.
that?
The villain, I think he was like some guy who was trapped away and he was trying to like destroy the realm of the spirit world and the physical world.
That
So
sounds
then like
familiar.
spirits and like, humans can live side by side like how
Bro,
they
I can't
intended
even
in the
remember
past.
who he is. That's how like I don't remember Korra. I'm like, who is the villain?
He was like one of those like where he's just like for the greater good, sacrifices are needed,
Oh, this sounds familiar. See, like I remember that, but I still can't remember who he is.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes when he talked, I was just like, "Oh, I can understand it."
Hmm.
Like, I can understand his, like, motives and his, like, reasoning. It's, like,
Yeah.
well done.
Man, that reminds me
Anyways,
of like
I
psychopaths.
feel like growing up, like, if I'm gonna start, like, having kids or, like, having kids, like, watch anime or recommend my friends to have kids watch anime, it's definitely Avatar. It's not anime,
This I was
but
like, do you
definitely
think
make them watch.
Avatar is anime? Like,
No, but I
no.
definitely would make them watch Avatar and
Yeah.
then start with, like, Pokemon and, like, things like that.
Yo, Jackie Chan?
Oh my god.
Talismans? Man, I
Let's see,
never
what else?
never thought Jackie Chan would turn out to be what I think of him today.
What? What do you mean?
He has so much drama with his family and just him kind of being like not a good person, I would say. It seems like from what has been
Mm.
released online. Like I think he like yeah, you guys can look it up, but it didn't seem great as a person. But I guess that's a lot of, actors. That's what they're good at acting, but they also are real people and have their own lives that may not be the same.
Let's see. Yeah, I think Jackie Chan was just like funny and it was nice to see like, Asian on the screens and stuff. But oh my god, I had the biggest crush on Jet Li. I thought he was so cute and like so heroic and so like wow, it's
You
just
say that, but like the
that's what I
first thing
want.
I think of is because like all the one I don't remember the movies, but every time I see him movies, I always think of him like the traditional Chinese with the
Mhm.
long ponytail, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's not a
He's
bald spot, but you're like bald, but with like the one spot of hair.
No, the braid of
Yeah,
hair.
like the braid of
Hello?
hair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I see that and you're like, he's so hot, and I'm like, oh no,
He's
man.
so hot. Like, it's not him, like, physically. It's how he acts, and usually he's very heroic
It's
and very, like, loyal and very, like,
how he
righteous
holds
and, like
himself. But when you say that,
yeah.
I'm just like, okay, I just got into I'm like became okay with long hair guys, but I don't know about that girl. I don't know.
I totally look past, like see, this is exactly what I meant by female gaze versus male gaze, because
Yeah.
literally, I would say with his bald head and, like, all of that, he would probably be, like, a 5 at most.
He's a
But because of
five, but
he's a 5,
he's an
but he
action
has
he's
all of these traits as Jet Li. That's a 10. That's a solid ass 10 right there. Always gonna, fight for his family, for the little people, for the one at the bottom. Love that. That's hot.
Dude, did you watch like all the Chinese like was it wuxia? I forget the name.
Who Yeah, 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 yeah. Growing
Wuxia,
up, I
right?
love
Yeah,
watching
like
those.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and like
Yeah,
was it
yeah.
Hero?
Mm.
Dude, I feel like I should rewatch those. I remember when I watched was it Crouching Tiger or was it Hero? Maybe it was Hero. I remember when I was older, I think it was Hero, and like my family was over, like all the aunts and uncles, and like they were watching that, and then my younger cousin I think was there, and then we were walking by, and then their dad was like, "No, no, no, cover their eyes, because it was like that one scene where they're like, I think in the bamboo forest or something, and almost
I
getting it
don't
on.
remember that at all.
Dude, I only remember it because of this. Like, I never. I don't. I think when I watched it, I was too young to understand what was going on too, until like my uncle did that, and I was like, oh, oh ho
Oh,
ho.
dang.
It was one of those. I think it was Hero, but maybe both.
Oh, it's the same with me when I first, like, heard about that Titanic scene. I was like, "Why?"
Dude, I saw that in theaters when it first came out, and I never knew until years later, like decades later.
I still don't understand, like, until the more recent year when I rewatched it, I was like, "Ah, I never knew that was a thing."
I remember I was
And then whenever
younger.
they say the Titanic scene, I just imagine, like, Rose at the bow of the ship, and that's all, but, they're whenever, like, we're in the car and it starts to get, like, steamy because 'cause we're talking or chilling, that was just like, "Oh, the Titanic
Handprint.
scene." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Nah, dude, that was like, okay. It's funny because I clearly remember that scene from watching it in theaters, but I never knew what was going on. Like, I was always like, why is there a hand on a car window? And why is there like, why is it like foggy? I don't understand. But
I
you're
didn't
like
even think
really
about it.
young and you're just like, oh, I don't know. You move on because your mind is so small and you're like, whatever. All I remember is
Yeah.
the ship sinking and paint me like one of your French girls. Which I also didn't
I
really understand when I was younger.
I didn't remember that scene either. Oh my god.
I
Was she
remember,
naked, naked?
yeah, because that's like why it's like paint me like one of your French girls.
Oh my god, there's so many references I feel like I didn't get, and only when I'm an adult that I rewatch it, I was like, "Ah, oh, my childhood finally is piecing together."
All these things.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
All the
Oh
memes.
my god, you know what another one that I was so shocked about? Inuyasha is a shonen. Did you know
What?
that?
I mean, I guess I can
Bro,
kind of see it with all the fighting, but like the style kind of reminds me of like Sailor Moon, like
it was during that time that it was, like, on Adult Swim, so it makes sense that it is shonen, but for some reason, I feel like all of the fans of Inuyasha are all, like, female.
Yo,
Like, you know
that's
how the
you
fan
know why?
base
You know why? It's because all the
Mm.
females wanted Sesshomaru.
Okay, well, yeah, obviously hot daddy demon, we get that. But it was just more like
Say no
the
more. That's
story
it.
definitely
Why are you
appealed
surprised?
more.
Why are you
Yeah, because
surprised?
no, I was so shocked because I told even my friends, I was like, "Did you know Yasha was like my guy friends?" They're like, "What?" I always thought that was like for girls, you know? And I was like,
Mm.
"No, that's for guys." It's like or it was targeted, that's the demographic. And I was like, it just confuses me. I don't know. I
I,
didn't know.
I mean, it's because for us, like maybe it's like what you take out of it, and we saw more of like the romance of it versus the action of
Mhm.
it. But if you really think about it, most of it was like action, like they're fighting all the time.
I just think of it as the fan base. Like, who are more likely to be like, I like watching Yasha growing
Mm.
up, and it's mostly girls, right? It's just like, oh, who likes like Actually, no, I guess it's a little bit more even
They just
with that one,
they
but I would
they
never hear a guy.
underestimated the appeal of Sesshomaru, I'm telling you.
No, I would just never hear a guy say Inuyasha is one of their favorite series.
I don't think I know any guys who actually watched Inuyasha.
That's what I'm saying, but, like, I know girls watch Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, like,
But I
Hunter x
mean, we
Hunter,
went over
all of
this
those, list
before
them
that
all.
girls watch shonen all the time. Like,
I know, but I like, Inuyasha is a shonen,
yeah.
and guys don't watch it, and I'm, like, shocked
Okay,
at
maybe
that.
it's just like how girls will wear guys' clothes and girls' clothes, but guys won't wear girls' clothes. Like they
Uh,
feel like it's off, but it's really. I mean, think about it. Back in the day, guys wore dresses and stuff like for their sleep, or like kilts. Those are literally skirts. Like it was a thing before.
mm,
Like dresses are more practical in the sense of like reducing waste. I guess like you could reuse and pass down like dresses and skirts more easy than pants because they fit easier. It's more of a
that's true,
loose
that's
fit.
fit. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
especially
makes
for
sense.
kids.
Yeah. I
So
mean, back then too, high heels were invented for men, so they
wait,
can get
what?
on their like yeah, high heels were invented by men, and especially men in royalty and higher class back then, they would always be painted with high heels. And I think it was so it would be easier for them to like either get on horses or like something like that.
I
But
didn't
it
know
was
that.
yeah, and then back then, like purses were also made for men because women didn't have much property back then. So then like men would so men would actually need things to be carried around and stuff like that. And it wasn't until like later on when, they wanted to invent the dresses stopped having pockets for women. So
Mm-mm.
then it made them so then they had to have like hand purses and then that's when it switched over. But back then it was men who had like purses and stuff.
Yo.
And makeup was also made for men. And if you look at the history of like, the color pink and blue, back then all of the young boys wore pink and all the girls was a very feminine like blue was a very feminine color
What?
for women.
Wait, how far back are
Yeah,
we talking? Where when are we talking?
like I can look it up, but I remember that shocking fact and I was like, "What?"
I don't know. I'd never heard that part before. But like, man, there's so many things. I know like do you know why tampons were first invented?
Oh yeah. But tell me.
They're for was it bullet wounds? Like to plug them.
Mhm.
Like legit. And there was another thing I found out. What was it? The chainsaw. Do you know why chainsaws were first invented?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I think I do.
Dude, it's for like
Mhm.
C-sections essentially.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah, I
but not
I
like
remember I heard that.
but not like the C-section we have today where it's like, oh, they know exactly where to cut and just get the baby out and make it as less or as not invasive as possible. It was like
Kill me.
they had to learn how to do C-sections, right? So they had
Mhm.
the first thing was they had like this rudiment. It wasn't even like a good. It was like a rudimentary chainsaw. Just imagine that, like a hand powered. Bro, can you imagine? And they take this to the woman's like I think it was the pubic bone, and they would like cut through it to try and get. Dude, can you
Oh
imagine?
god, I'm gonna kill myself. That's so
Well, I
scary.
mean, literally that was the issue too because it was like a lot of times it was could you save the mother? No, but at least you could save the
Mhm.
baby. So the mom literally died still in that process because of bleeding out and all the complications.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary. No wonder the death tolls were so high.
Yeah. I think also, which is kind of okay, so we have like very high success rates with C-sections now, right? It's almost
Yeah.
less I think it's even less complications than normal birth, right?
Mhm.
But the sad part is that I think like a lot of doctors will choose C-sections over normal births, like kind of without telling patients, I think, because it's
Mhm.
easier and faster to do so you can get through more patients. Like also because like less complications. But it's kind of your personal decision to choose, and it's kind of really bad as a doctor to like choose that for someone just because it's easier for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, here I saw it. It was in 1918 the infant department put out that generally accepted rule is pink for boys and blue for girls. The reason is that blue is a more delicate color deemed suitable for girls and pink was a stronger color. more suitable for boys, and it wasn't until
Is this in the US?
1940s. Yes, this is in the US.
Okay.
In Europe and the US. And it wasn't until 1940s that pink was first established as a female gender signifier.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
damn.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. But not as crazy as all these gender reveal parties.
Oh my god, there's so many. Oh my god, and on just that creepy like birth thing. Did you know the reason why women give birth laying down was due to a fetish?
What?
Yeah. So I think it was like King Louis something. Is it the sixth?
I don't know.
The 15th? I don't know. One of them. King Louis of France, basically he had a fetish for like women lying down giving birth and having their legs spread up, so he started doing that with his like wives. And it was a common practice that he had his wives and mistresses to give birth like sitting up and like kind of like with their legs spread. And so that became kind of like the normal thing, because normally what women would do is like they would be laying on like birthing tables with their feet like up,
Yeah, like in
but then he
stirrups.
would just yeah, yeah. But then ever since then, he went to that. And like so that's how it's just easier. But it's shown like um giving birth when you're like squatting or kneeling on the ground is easier because the pelvic is wider,
Yeah.
making like the labor easier. But
Yeah.
it like kind of made it difficult for him to see the process. So that's why women started to give birth laying back
Oh. I knew about the squatting
because
thing.
yeah, because it's his fetish. And then it
Ah.
spread. And then now it's normalized everywhere that women lay down giving birth, even though it's harder and more painful.
Oh.
I'm gonna kill
I just
myself.
think about the women who are literally just walking around the room like, just get this thing out of me.
Yeah,
Dude, giving birth is fucking wild. I don't even know. Like, props to all the moms out
it's
there.
so creepy though to think about.
I don't want to think about that ever again. Like, I want to put that out of my mind. But the
How
squatting
much
thing
of
is
our
true.
history how much of our history is just completely
Like,
screwed over.
it's funny when you said the squatting thing because it just reminded me of like, okay, the reason it's easier is the same reason why it's like that's the reason we have like it's better to use like squatty potties because like,
Exactly.
and I just thought of
Yeah.
like pooping out your baby because it's the same like
Yeah.
muscles and everything too, and I'm like,
Literally, and then it's so much easier than to, like, lay back and try to poop, imagine.
no, okay, did you know it's
That's terrible.
also it's like I didn't know before, but it's like really common to like poop when you give birth because it's the same muscles.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
no
yeah,
one
yeah,
talks about
apparently.
this. So like get ready to be like super open with whoever's in the room. Like if you want someone else
Yeah,
in the room.
apparently that's why it's best that they don't eat before, so then they can just have, like, clear bladders,
Yeah, but like
and so
you
it just makes things easier.
if you're giving like a natural birth too, chances are you aren't planning when you're gonna this baby's gonna pop out, you know? It just kind of
It's
happens.
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Either way, it's sick. I just
Like
yeah,
seriously. Giving
can't
birth
catch
is
me.
so wild. Babies are
No.
wild.
Mm-mm. I don't think so. I think this is why I feel like a lot of people in our generation is just like, "No, I'm good," you know? I'm good. Like,
Dude, it's not just that. It's like the being pregnant, the giving birth, then after birth, and then even after just the baby, like the money to sustain another life and time commitment, just
it's so expensive too.
it's
Like,
so
it doesn't cost like 15 to 20K to give birth
I mean,
in the
depending on
US?
your insurance and all that too. All right, like
No, that's after insurance.
I think it depends on what insurance you have too, though, and where you go. Like it's very varied.
Mm-mm-mm,
Like I might have
mm-mm.
mentioned before. There's like one dude who like literally tried to figure out. He knew what his insurance was. He knew which hospital he was going to and like the procedure and everything. Everyone's giving birth, and he tried to get an estimate, just like a ballpark from the hospital. Like, oh, about how much will it cost? And they wouldn't give it to him. They're like, don't you have a price list or something? And they're like, we don't know until you give birth, and then we find out. And it's like, can't you just like charge it and then see what it is and then not actually charge it? Like, come on.
It's the whole thing is a scam. The whole
Yeah.
thing is just a profit-making machine. That's why.
I mean, healthcare in America is a profit machine. I've literally looked at where I'm like, would it be cheaper to go abroad to have your baby like at that point?
I bet it is.
Yeah.
Like, just to pay out of pocket is probably even way cheaper than
Yeah.
what you would do here.
Yeah. That's why I'm just like, bruh. This is like one of the most common procedures. How can you not know? Why is this so expensive?
So expensive. Just to stay overnight at a hospital too.
Dude, I don't even want to think about how much it is to stay at a hospital. And it's not even like it's a hotel. It costs more than a 5-star hotel.
Mhm.
And you get shitty food and shared room.
Mhm.
And, you know.
Oh my god.
No.
I'm telling you, I always reference the fact that my friend was just like, "Yeah, I was out drinking one night when we were in Japan." She was just like, "Yeah, I was out drinking one night and I had like alcohol poisoning." And so a random person called the ambulance for me. They picked me up, they got me to hospital, resuscitated me and everything. I got all of my scans, all of my testing done, stayed there for like a few days and like got all my blood tests and everything. And the total turned out to be like $1,000, which was really, really pricey.
Oh
But
my god.
imagine a few days in the hospital, getting ambulance ride, getting all the tests done, all the
Dude,
medication, all
imagine
the
getting an
screening.
ambulance ride and not an Uber to the hospital.
I know, at that point, I'm like, isn't it like an ambulance ride like 15K or something like that?
I don't know. I just know it's way more
No
than I can
insurance.
pay.
Yeah, I'm like, at that point, just let me die. Like, I
Yeah.
don't wanna put my family through that. Like, if you think I'm gonna die on the way there, just don't put my family through that.
Just
Like, just kill me.
DNR, do not
Do not
resuscitate.
call. Do not call the ambulance on me. If you care about me at all.
I'm already dead, man. Don't make my family suffer.
Exactly! My god, just let me die here. God damn, they'll just collect my body later.
Dude, you know
Jeez.
how like it's like the joke where we're all like, guess I'll die then. But I'm like, but actually. We joke, but actually.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just like, and I remember when I went to get my full physical in Japan and I had like, I paid like $8 a month for my
What?
student like in life health insurance. And I remember going there and then I was like, "Oh no, I wasn't actually due for a physical, but I got all my blood tests, my x-rays, everything done like from head to toe, anything I could get done." And it ended up being like $200. And I was like, my friend's like, "Wow, that's really expensive. You should talk to your insurance." And I was like, "Ain't no way I'm talking to my insurance. Like, it's so cheap. I
Bro,
will pay this."
I should go just see. I don't think I've ever had a full like workup ever in my life.
Oh my
Maybe I
gosh,
should
so
just go and get that
annoying.
done. Just for, be like, yeah, I need this. You know, I love it when they go like, oh, it costs this much because you don't have insurance. We're so sorry. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like
Like,
this
they're like, "Oh
much?
my god, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Whoa, chill. You're
That's,
making it seem like I owe like 20 grand."
bro, this is so, when you get the price and you're like, wow, that's so cheap. And they're like, we're sorry you had to pay so much. And you're like, what? What?
They're like, "Do you know where I'm from? Do you have any idea?" I don't think they could even fathom how expensive it is.
I think like everyone hears our prices and just like laughs and feels sorry for us. And they're like,
Mhm.
how? And then the people like try to argue like, oh, but you have like such great health care only, and everyone comes there when they need specific things. I'm like, okay, so can I be one of the people who just come for specific things? What about general things? Why do general things cost so damn much?
Exactly.
Okay, did you know that if you get like anything cut off from your body, they like have to send it in for testing? I think to check if it's like cancerous or not.
Mhm.
Like, why can't you just cut it off and not ask me? Like, what if I don't get it cut off? Like, that won't cost me anything. So why do I have to pay for the extra like 100 or so it is just to test it? Like, why? Can't I just
Bro,
not
I
test it? Just cut it off.
I got an allergy test and I talked to my insurance and this was when I was
I
working
thought those
like
aren't
at a
covered.
company. Yeah, I thought so too. I called it confirmed. It turned out it wasn't covered. I ended up having to pay like
No, that's
$1,000
why I'm
just
like,
to
those
get.
aren't covered.
Oh, really? I
No.
had no idea. That's the thing though. They told me it was because I was like, "Oh, this is kind of like an issue for me at work, you know.
Mm.
If I don't know what I'm allergic to." They literally just drew my blood and then billed me $1,000.
Oh my
And I was
god.
like, "Are you serious?"
This
And
is,
obviously I couldn't do anything because they're like, "Well, you should check with your insurance." I'm like, "I did check with my insurance.
I
So
hate it.
what's the issue?"
No one ever knows. This is why I hate it. This is why I'm always just like, are you
Mhm.
gonna charge me for this? I don't want it. If I don't, no, don't. It's like how we can't
I'm
even,
telling you, let me die. Do not call the ambulance. Do
literally.
not.
Dude, did you know, like, okay, getting a blood test to find out your blood type isn't covered either? Like, and they say, apparently, when I asked about it, they're like, oh, yeah, they don't cover it because they say that if you actually need blood, because like imagine you're in an accident and you need like a blood transfusion like immediately, right? And they say, and you don't know your blood type, and they're like, oh, it's okay because like hospitals have type O, which is like a universal donor, right? I think it was type O, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, what if
O
they're,
positive.
yeah, like, but what if they're out of it? Especially with like the blood shortages lately, you know, since like COVID and people aren't donating, and they have nothing to say about it. It's like, but no, insurance won't cover you to find out like what your blood type is, so they have to waste the time to find out to get it when you're in that critical condition, unless you pay for it. Like,
It's a scam. The whole thing is
yeah,
just a bullshit scam. But the only reason I found out because I donated blood, and I donated blood because I wanted free movie tickets.
yeah, no, I wanted to donate blood for it, but like I'm not able to donate blood, so I can't. So like I actually have to pay for it if I want to find out. It's dumb.
Oh my god. Yeah, I literally don't I worked so hard to get to a certain weight to be able to donate blood because I was like, "Oh, I heard they give freebies and stuff." And it's like, "Yeah, I can help
Did you
people,
get
but then
cookies?
also get freebies." I did get cookies
Yes,
and
I
ice
saw
cream.
it. Oh, whoa, that's a fancy place.
Mhm.
No, they have like what is it? You can donate plasma. Dude, I know people in college who like donated plasma to like pay bills.
Mhm.
Like this is literally how we live in
That's so
America.
scary.
Like you are literally selling your body, and not in the way you think. Like you literally are. You sell your plasma to
Mhm.
survive. Can you imagine? Like it's so sad.
Plasma is so painful too.
Yeah, that's
The
why.
process?
But I think you can do it every was it month or something. But yeah,
Can you? I thought the recovery was much longer.
was
Like,
it?
don't they have to stick like a needle up your
Yeah, it's
spine?
like a thick needle. I don't know if it's up your spine. I've never had it done, so I'm not sure. I've heard it's painful, but I think
Like
you
my
can do
mom
it.
has got it done before, and she had to she said it was the most painful procedure because they will stick a giant needle. Like imagine the needle the size of like I don't know how long, like a ruler,
Hmm.
and then they have to stick it up your spine to get the
Oh
fluids.
my god, is it up your spine?
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Think so. I think that's why it's so hard. But for some people, if they don't have plasma, they die, you know?
Yeah, that's why they need it. But I'm like, I don't know. I think it's like you can donate. Was it plasma and platelets?
Mhm.
How often? Oh, every 56 days, up to 6 times a year.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I just realized I'm so out of shape. Like this few days ago, I'm still kind of healing from it. I don't know what I did, but like you
Mhm.
know when you wake up and you like stretch your arms like upwards and like pull up? Does that make sense? It's like
You pull your arms up?
you put both your hands above your head and you like hold them together and you pull them up like upwards. That
Ah,
kind of
okay.
stretch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I did that when I woke up. I wasn't even awake. I was still like, kind of asleep, but I was I just was awake, but I was still playing to sleep. I was gonna sleep
Mhm.
in, but I did that and I pulled something like in my back. I think it was my trap, like the muscle
Uh-huh.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was so painful, like so painful. Like I couldn't like move. Like you know when you're lying on your back. Okay, I only realized this is how I get up because it was so painful. Is that normally
Mhm.
you use that muscle to like propel your upper body up, like to sit up.
Mhm.
I couldn't do
Mhm.
it. I literally couldn't lift my body up. So I was like turning on my
Bro, what
side
did
and
you do?
trying to use my legs to get up. I think I pulled that muscle because I also couldn't turn my head.
That seems really bad, dude.
Yeah, like it's better now. I was like doing the rice method of like was it rest, ice. I didn't compress because I don't know how you can compress that, and then elevate, but you can't really elevate it either. I guess my head was a little elevated, and I was also I think it helped more. I had like this portable massager thing, and I was like using that, and it helped a little, but then it would kind of go back. I'm mostly better now, but I never want to go through that again. Like
Bro.
that isn't even like a dangerous stretch. That's like the most normal stretch, right? Like everyone does that. And now I'm so traumatized every time I like go to do that stretch and I like don't want to actually stretch it because I'm scared I'm gonna pull it again.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't.
Bro, you need to be careful. Like, apparently, as you age too, all your joints, like, you lose mobility in them. So you have to constantly do stretches every day. That's
Yeah,
why yoga is so important.
yeah. I was like, okay, I need to work out. I need to do something.
Mhm.
But that wasn't even my joints. It's my muscle.
I see. Today I went on a hike with my friends and we took the wrong route. It's supposed to be like a super paved hike and super easy, like maybe like a mile, 2 mile hike. And we ended up taking the wrong turn and we went up the mountain, like super
Oh my
incline. Like I
god.
think it was like 600 feet or something like that. Something weird like elevation. And then it ended up being like 3.5 hour and up intense up incline.
Oh my god. How did you not
And
know
I think we
this?
walked the wrong way too because everyone was going the other way and everyone's just chilling while we're like sweating. I think we walked the wrong path up.
You think?
We ended up pulling through instead of walking back because I was just like, I think it's worse walking back. But then I have this little tracker on my phone and it says we walked 1,000 steps. That's almost like 4 miles.
Yo, Wilden. I can't even. I can't.
Oh
My
my god,
legs
I
hurt.
know I'm gonna feel sore tomorrow, but
You're gonna
I
have
think
calves of steel.
it's healthy. I feel like now we're older, we have to do walks, you know? We have to
It's
do
the guilt.
stretches.
You knew it was the wrong way, but you felt guilty and you're like, body, please.
Don't fail me. I literally was like talking to my body. I was just like, come on, we're youthful, we're young, we can do this. And then my knees start shaking.
Body, don't betray me like this.
Everyone else in my life betrays me. Please, not my body. Anime genres betray me, okay? Every day.
Anime betrays us every day. Top 10 anime betrayals.
Every day of my life.
Christ.
Yeah, that was my life. Yeah, you need to be careful. And you need to have casual exercise every day, you know?
Okay, I'll come up there and we can do some casual exercise.
Yeah, let's go hiking. I may or may not take you the wrong
No,
trail.
I'll tell you, trust me. I'll let you know. I'll be like, this is kind of steep, huh? I'll already be dying. I'll have cotton mouth. I'll be like, let's turn back 1/2 mile in. Let's go. It'll be a mile.
All right, we'll start slow. We'll start with like, I don't know, a mile. Dude, it was nice. It was so paved that one of my friend who went before had someone who had like an electric wheelchair was able to go on it.
Yo! Hiking in an electric wheelchair?
Literally, dude.
Bro! What a time to be alive.
I know, and they could go as far as like the paved trail is, and then they'll head back, you know. But that's so nice, like so accessible.
Yo, that just makes me think of someone who's like on a hoverboard or like on a Segway just hiking on that. Like, I can't. Ah, yes, the great outdoors. Just like hovers on by.
Oh my god, are those automatic like scooters or bikes too?
Yeah,
Like they're
yeah.
not even moving.
It's like, bruh, while you're hiking and
Where
you're
has
like
the
dying
time
and it
gone
just
to?
passes you like, excuse? Excuse you?
10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Yo, put in my dating profile. I like to go on hikes and then just like go to your on your skateboard up. So this is what you meant by hikes?
Shame. That's
It's like the Game of Thrones
that is
shame.
being
Just ring,
catfish.
give me the shame bell from Game of Thrones. Shame.
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 Throw rice on you or something. Throw mud at you.
Why mud?
I don't know. I feel like it's more accessible and less wasteful than rice.
Wow. Rice fixes things.
Rice is life.
Well, I think we should probably wrap up. So,
Oh, okay.
if you guys have any comments on any animes that you thought were like a different genre than what it was told, like a shonen that is actually shoujo or a shoujo that's actually shonen or anything else, please let us know.
Mm.
And we will see you next week. Bye bye.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye.